Okay, we're on. Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Vanessa Nicholas. I'm a hypnotherapist specializing in weight loss and anxiety, but I also see a lot of different people. We're just going to have a chat today about how you're feeling in this present time. Some people are feeling a little bit overwhelmed and like they're a little bit of a crossroads in their life. So we're chatting today with Andrea, who will introduce herself now, just about that and the tips and tricks we help our clients with and offer. Andrea, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Vanessa. I've been so looking forward to joining you on this recording. So yes, I am Andrea from Soulful Living with Andrea, and I'm a transformational courage coach. So basically I help to support women in particular who are at a crossroads in life, that maybe feel like they're having an identity crisis, not really sure who they are or where they want to be able to direct their life to. So obviously at this time when so much has changed for so many people, it's actually a really crucial time to be able to support as many people as we can, I guess, in the ways with what our skill set actually provides us to be able to do for people. So yeah, it's good to be able to come on and chat about, you know, different options that people have to be able to make sure that they can manage kind of through this time and moving forward into their future. So yeah.
Because a lot of my clients have, say for example, been coming to me for anxiety, and when this has happened, obviously the anxiety has risen and reasons why it has risen have changed, or clients that have come for weight loss have then found that anxiety is taking over and they need more help with that. So I'm finding with my clients that they may have come for one thing, but everything else is happening at the same time for them. And that happens as a norm. You always look behind what they are specifically coming for as to what is going on in their lives, but now we have this COVID-19 on top of it all. Are you finding that too?
Yeah, so I feel like, and even for myself in terms of, because even though we do this type of work, we're sort of not immune to life stresses, and it takes, you know, it takes us sort of work and reaching out and the patients to sort of delve within our own thing as well. But it definitely feels like, for me, what I'm witnessing and hearing and working with people on is that really this situation that is so sort of out of our control for so many people is that it's actually just shining a light on pre-existing situations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily like it is sort of creating new stresses, but for a lot of people it's actually just amplifying what was already there. So, you know, maybe if there was difficulty in a relationship, it's really being heightened now because people don't have the ability to escape or distract or divert their attention away from what's going on. And stresses are much easier to deal with when you can escape them, or when you can, you know, derive what you need out of a certain situation from somewhere else. And so that's probably what I'm seeing most of all, is that there are the underlining issues. And like you said, it's so true, because this was a big thing for me in terms of when I started my journey, I guess, was that I thought I knew what I needed help with, but in fact it wasn't what I needed help with. And it really was such an intriguing time, I guess, when you know that you have to have that patience to be able to see these things that get highlighted. But it was just really intriguing to realize and recognize that actually the situation that was complicated on the surface was actually a much deeper situation that had actually flowed through my life when I sort of came up. And this is what I ask, my clients to sort of, or what I want to support people with, is to kind of take like a bird's eye view over, like to detach yourself away from the emotional response and take a bird's eye view. Because a lot of the time we can begin to see the patterns of particular emotions or thoughts or feelings, how they have cycled through. So different scenarios, but with the one common theme. And for me, it's that this is really highlighting those already ingrained beliefs or feelings for people.
Definitely. And that's very much how I work with my clients as well, going back to different times in their lives when things may have happened. And like you say, the client might not really link those up until they've taken that step back and been able to look and have almost it pointed out, because sometimes, especially in hypnotherapy, because you're working with the subconscious mind, you might go back to a scene that's completely non-related in your conscious thoughts, but the thoughts and feelings around it are exactly the same. So I feel like this stress and anxiety about the times now is just compiling onto that massively, and like you say, amplifying the feelings and emotions and reactions from those tenfold.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really wanted to speak about on that was that, you know, for me, I'm really passionate about, you know, kind of catching people now, because the reality is what is being ingrained or integrated right now. So the thoughts and feelings about ourselves now in this situation and this heightened stress absolutely has the potential to continue the patterns. So this will rectify, you know, life will go back to what we want to classify as normal, and it will become a distant memory in years to come. But that's the tricky part of not recognizing that that does become an ingrained feeling that can resurface down the track when you're really not expecting it. And I guess for me personally, that was another thing that I sort of didn't recognize either. I thought I'd done a lot of healing on, you know, situations in my life, and at a time where I thought I was doing really well, I kind of came unstuck again. And so it's really, for me, super important for people to understand that don't dismiss the I'll be right, mate, we've just got to get through it, because it doesn't always work like that. And it can absolutely, and in terms of intergenerational, I was doing quite a bit of reading about this last night as well, how, you know, what our children are feeling right now and their safety, because let's be honest, that's what it sort of boils down to, isn't it? Whatever situation, whatever stresses, whatever experiences we're having, it's our ability to feel safe in our environment, whether that's in our relationship, whether that's in our body, whether that's in our workplace. It's how safe do I feel right now? And then that, you know, we integrate different stories and meanings around that consciously, well, you know, usually subconsciously. And while some of the work can be done on just shining a light on and getting us to remember and connect those dots, which is what I do, there's also so much power in being able to connect dots that are floating around in the subconscious that can't be seen by, you know, just memory, which is perfect for the work that you do. So
So for example, we were taking my daughter home. She's 3 years old, so she was coming home from daycare the other day, and we had the radio on, and there was a news reading, and it was saying about someone who had died from COVID. And we don't usually have the news on, just have music and stuff. So Layla, it was very quiet, and she picked up on it. She literally listened in and said, "Someone's died, mummy, from COVID, the nasty virus." And 3 years old, there's a high likelihood that when, I don't know, 10 years later, 20 years later, she won't remember that. But in her subconscious mind, she will have that memory of people dying and the virus being dangerous and not being able to go to the playground, not being able to go to beaches. And so, as you say, it's so important that we make sure our kids are coping with this right now and finding ways to think about it that aren't just going to compact into their subconscious mind and cause problems in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I'll share a story, although it's a little bit embarrassing, but you know, we're all human and we're all real, and this is an interesting environment. But I have 16-year-old, 14-year-old boys, and then an 8-year-old daughter. And I think it was last week, the boys, by the time we get to the afternoon, evening, you know, they're spent, they're done, they're niggly and whatnot. And so they sort of get niggly and find it quite funny to sort of rile me up, which is totally fine. That's okay. I understand that. But on this particular day, I was probably a bit done, and I raised my voice and just said, you know, I'm really done now. You need to just pull it up. And our daughter was there, and she's quite a sensitive little poppet, and that's okay. But we just travelled on as normal. Everyone got back to doing what they were doing, but she did call me into the bedroom. She said, can I just speak to you, please, Mummy? And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. And we had also had a conversation about when the boys are older, them moving out. You know, one of our 16-year-olds 2 years off that. So, and yeah, she just opened up about that, and she just said, Mummy, when you raise your voice, when you yell, like, that makes me a bit scared. And I wasn't literally flipping out, flying off. I was just, but they definitely knew that I was done. But what sort of came out after that was that she then went into stories of last year at school. There was a student who, you know, has special needs, and can't self-regulate emotions and things. So yells, gets, you know, Harani had been, you know, sort of hit and stuff like that. Not often, but there was a situation where her safety was, she wasn't sure of it. And so I actually recognised and realised that even though not directed at her, that the loudness of the voices is a trigger for her, and is a trigger for not feeling safe and being concerned and not knowing how to get away from certain situations and things like that. And then she spoke about how much she'll miss her brothers if they move out and she'll be all alone. So I'm so grateful that I'm a talker. So I've always been able to do that with my children, and we talk through our emotions and stuff like that. But it's really important to recognize that these are the things that are going on for little people. Like, I had no idea. I understood what her classroom was like last year, but I didn't know at that time how, you know, certain situations had imprinted a fear and a lack of safety for her, and how easily that was going to be re-triggered down the track. And I guess I understand this enough that I can sort of sit with her and talk her through that and explain, you know, what anger is and how that's shown sometimes, and that people do and don't know what they're doing. But, you know, if I went back, say, 10 years, like, I wouldn't have this. It's like, it's really important that we nurture and ensure our children feel safe, and that we validate their emotions and recognize how this can imprint for them. But if we don't know how to do that for ourselves, then we're kind of, you know, we're paddling a canoe without any oars, so to speak. So it's, you know, it can be so beneficial to commit to yourself, because then you actually have the resources to be able to support, you know, support family and create a healthy emotional regulative system for generations to come. So
and going on from that, we had a little chat earlier on about what we had done this morning, and I think you can feel a real difference and see a real difference in ourselves, you and I, and, you know, whoever else is watching, or anyone in the world can see and feel a difference if they take care of themselves first. And I don't mean that as to say, okay, I'll have my breakfast, have a shower, you know, get ready, and then I'll feed the daughter. I mean, take care of us emotionally and make sure that we have the energy and have the patience to be able to deal with everybody else around us in the family. Even if we don't have families, you know, taking care of ourselves and then being able to deal with the people around you at work, or any kind of interaction, really, you will always feel that you're more able to cope with conversations that might be a little bit tricky, emotional, angry, frustrated, all that kind of stuff. You can always deal with it better when you have taken care of yourself first. And so you're in a better mindset to be able to communicate what you need to communicate, instead of just flying off the handle and saying all the wrong things.
Yeah, and it's our ability to solution seek when we're coming from a space of, inner peace. And I know that right now, in terms of the environment that we're in and how things are, and the fear that's there, and the frustration, and all of those things that go along with this situation that we're in. And I did write a piece yesterday about, we do have control over our internal experiences, and externally we don't. And that's, sometimes that doesn't feel okay, but the reality of recognizing that, how do I continue to maintain equilibrium in a really unknown environment? And that for me is primarily key, because keeping that equilibrium allows us, like you said, to not so much just have everything perfect and floating around on this airy fairy little cloud of everything's totally fine, because everything's totally not fine. And we are coming up against energies in the home, whether you have children or partners, or we can't get away to sort of recalibrate and things like that. And so we're being forced into a situation that highlights that. But I think and in terms of, we were going to talk about this, I did the oil, drawing of the oils, essential oils, just before we jumped on our call to really ground into our session. And one of the oils that came up that I think is so paramount for people to remember, and that was forgive. And I feel like when we do put on our oxygen mask first, and we do whatever we need to do, however that looks for people, because it can look very different. Some people might just need to go and do a spurt of exercise. Some people might need to, journal out how they're feeling. There's so many different modalities that we can lean into. But for me, the number one key in doing that and having that equilibrium is so that we can essentially forgive ourselves for those times where we don't keep it together, or maybe we do raise our voice, or maybe we do get really worried about what the future holds, or we get really frustrated and snap at somebody, or because that's the key, is to understand that we are human, and that we will have really beautiful emotions to lean into and celebrate, and we love that, happiness, joy, contentment. But we also made up of the opposite, which is, might be anger, and might be resentment, might be judgmental, criticism, and things like that. And I always sort of talk to my clients about, when they're coming with sort of at a crossroads or an agitation that's sort of getting to them, and they just want the solution. They just help me get to feeling better. I want to feel happier. I want to feel, more successful, whatever those things are that we sort of are reaching for. We never try to rush through those. Like, when we find that thing that makes us happy, we're not going, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Well, what can I do to stop this? Well, certainly not consciously. There might be things subconsciously going on that is going to sabotage that. But when we hit frustration, or we hit, those icky emotions that are still just normal emotions, we do try to rush through them. And yet for me, as we've spoken about, the journey of kind of untangling what's in underneath those emotions is like the richest journey we can ever take.
And I find a lot of people, and I am guilty of this myself in the past as well, without properly realizing it, are totally unaware of what's going on underneath. You know, you may know you're angry or frustrated or sad or whatever emotion is going on, and you think it is because you're stressed from work, or your relationship is falling to bits, or whatever the reason is, and you can't see anything beneath that, and I think that is very hard for people when we're working with them, for them to shine that light on the underneath reasons. It's like a higher reason for what they're experiencing in the moment, and to be able to explore that and open it up for them and have them understand, I can see how that's making me feel now, is like just amazing for them, because it changes the way they look at any argument or any negative emotion in the future. They can unpack it a little bit and go, okay, I can see why I'm feeling this. It's understandable. And instead of retreating from it and thinking, oh no, I shouldn't be angry, I'm wrong, I'm a bad person, they can understand why they've got to that, and then take the necessary steps to not go there again.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying there, because what's coming through when you're talking about this is that it sounds so simplistic, yeah. and when you say it, but really all it's doing is bringing us back to self and to self-love. That those complications and not knowing why those things are happening and why am I feeling like this and I shouldn't be feeling like that and I should be better, is really just taking us further away from self-love and self-compassion, because essentially that's that's some of the main ingredients in being able to shift through some of this stuff. And that is I wrote the other day, it sort of came in, that we have to love ourselves enough to love ourselves more.
Yes.
And because there is always going to be a deeper underlining root cause of our feelings, and getting into the stories. Like I often talk about, what are you making that mean? What are we making that situation mean about who we are? And I run a session called the Courage Couch. I just started it last month. It's a virtual meetup, and it's just a general support system. It's not really delving into stuff, so to speak. It's a group session, but things definitely do come up for people, and we get to unpack a little. And in that session, there was a mum that could feel, because the topic was control, and she was reflecting on how the closer to the homeschooling thing we were getting, the more she could recognize she was trying to control her children's behavior. Like, I can feel it. I'm just trying to control. I want them to behave. I want them to do the right thing. And as we unpacked it, what was really in underneath that was the pressure for her to get it right, or she would be failing her children.
Yeah.
So it's actually not their behavior. Like, that's the trigger point. But it's that deeper seated belief that I'm going to fail. And then obviously, in session with someone like yourself, or someone like with the work that I do, would be looking at, okay, so where has that happened before? What has accumulated up until the point that just this sort of thing, you can't go, okay, well, I'll do the best that I can. They'll be fine. We'll get, it's a global situation. It's not just me. And it's being able to really unpack that and get that little bit deeper and that little bit deeper, because then do you find that it's like kind of like dominoes falling?
Definitely.
There's that light bulb goes off, and then it's like, oh, I did it there too. Oh, I can see why that happened. Oh, and there's all these little dots that are connected through the life journey of, shivers.
Yeah. And if only I'd known this sooner.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But I think that's why I sort of love that I've gone down this path, because I can see in my children that they have a much better ability of, and boys, like non-emotional boys, but they still have the capability of being able to look, like they use the words trigger now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, that triggered me, like I was so triggered by that.
Yeah.
Recognizing that that situation sparked an emotional response from me. I, you know, do different spiritual stuff, but they talk about manifesting. Why don't you just go manifest that, mum? Like all of this, you know, this language to them is just second nature. So I know primarily, like maybe not so much for them, you know, guys can be different, but they're going to probably have wives and possibly have daughters. And I feel good knowing that this isn't going to be taboo, that they would be able to know what to do to support someone or show them where to go and get the support, because they recognize that emotions and being able to manage that stuff is really important.
Yeah, so important. And one thing I was thinking there when you were saying that is being able to understand when someone is feeling, you know, a negative or any negative emotion. Often they will take that out on someone else. So they mirror that feeling on someone else, and a lot of the time that person who they're transferring that emotion to feels that they are in the wrong, or they're not good enough, or you know, they're getting told off for something. So it could be kids, it could be adults, and teaching those people who are on the firing end of it that actually it's not their fault, it's what the other person is feeling, and transferring over to them is really important as well. And especially with kids, because they don't understand, you know, say for instance at a family environment, if the parents are stressed and shout at the kids just feel bad because they think they're in the wrong, and you know, they're getting told off. But if they understand that it is mum and dad that are stressed out and, you know, behaving in the wrong way towards them, it makes sure that they keep their self-worth and feel enough, you know. And as adults, the same thing. If you are with someone who's constantly on at you, shouting at you, telling you you've not done this right, you've not done that right, if you're not strong enough to realize that that is a problem with the person who's telling you that rather than you are absolutely good enough as you are, then you will be crushed to the floor. And that's a lot of the time what clients come to me feeling, that they're just not good enough. And so building that belief back that they absolutely are, and a lot of the things that have happened in their life have nothing to do with them, because they've often happened as kids. So parents might have, you know, picked on them, or teachers picked on them, or they've been bullied at school, and they've taken that through to adulthood and just feel that they're not enough, you know, whether it's they're not pretty enough, they're not clever enough, they're not earning enough money, whatever it is, it always comes down to how they feel about themselves.
And in terms of you know, business approach, and you would have gone through this as well, you need to know who you're here to help, so that you know the problems that you can support them with. And like, it's been such a road to get there, but this identity crisis that I feel is so apparent for so many different reasons, and that's what I like to speak directly to, because the identity crisis really for me is the fact that for the most part, for most people, we have been taught to seek validation from external sources. You know, our system, regardless of what we think of it, or our stance on education, or different areas of how laws are governed, it's essentially a system that says you're smart if you get this, you're dumb if you don't. Like, we test you against the average and stuff like this. So we're kind of taught that our place is who we are, it fits into a certain place, and our identity is based on that. And our identity for success, you know, whether that be that we're lovable enough because we managed to score a partner and get married, and we're a good mum because we've lined up however the you want to score it against whatever book you're reading at the time, sort of thing, in careers. And it's all this, our identity is so entrenched in those external validations that, and this is in particular what I'm sort of seeing now, is that when those sources are removed or taken away, such as a lot of people with careers right now, they literally don't know who they are, because their identity was placed in, I'm the CEO, or I'm the whatever role you play. Same as in marriages. Identity is, well, I'm married to such and such, but they've walked out, so who am I now? Empty nesters. And it's this, why I'm so passionate is because I want people to know who they are and take responsibility for knowing who they are, so that all of those external things add value but are not the sum of it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that can be a really hard reckoning sometimes, is that our most significant and most important task really is to be rock solid in who we are, regardless of what's out there, and to love ourselves enough to love ourselves more. I just keep coming back to that.
And I think the difficult thing with that is, as well, is that we're not one person, you know, we're not always the outgoing, fun-loving, you know, happy-go-lucky person. Sometimes we do feel a little bit quieter, more introverted. Sometimes we feel like you don't want to talk to anyone. Sometimes you'll walk down the street and say hello to everyone you see. And I think people struggle with finding who they are, because they can be one different person on each day of the week. And so they get confused and think, well, who am I then? Like, do I have to pick that one person, and then am I being wrong because I'm having a quieter day? And it's understanding that you can be every one of those people, but you are still you, and you are enough being that person.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like, again, like reflecting personally, that on the journey towards sort of being the best that I could be, and I see this for other people as well, that doing things and recognizing and untying different bits and pieces, and you have this surge of, oh my gosh, like you feel so much better, and life, you've got clarity and you've got the confidence and you can make the changes that you need, and it's like this, you've been let out of a cage, and you can really like just grab all of that goodness. But it's not as easy to reconcile the other part. And that is by far was one of the biggest lessons for me, that this journey of personal development, this journey of working out who we are and being the best that we can be, is actually not about being better and better and better and happier and more positive and more all of those things. It's actually about being able to say, I'm really shit at that sometimes.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have patience. That person, that situation, that triggers me like a mofo, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like that darkness and those shadows, being able to reconcile that is a part of who we are, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Is definitely somewhat more challenging, but so much more powerful. And I think that is like what you're saying, that we are all these bits, and that's okay.
Because if we can understand that and learn to recognize it as it's coming up instead of after it's happened, we can take the steps to know we are that person, but we're not going to hurt anyone else by flying off the handle, or, you know, becoming an emotional mess, or not being able to present something. You know, the things that we need to do, although we're feeling those emotions, we can recognize it as it's happening or just before it's happening, predict it, and do the things we need to do to ensure life doesn't completely fall to bits.
And the word that sort of stuck out for me and continues along, and I'm sure that you probably agree with this, is we have to take responsibility. Like not those things that are really aggravating and really getting us down and really getting in the way of living a beautifully rich life. It fundamentally comes down to whether we're going to take responsibility for knowing and committing to ourselves to see how all of these things have played out and what's hiding and lurking in the shadows and stuff. Because honestly, I know it's such a cliche thing, but nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
Like sitting in a space of feeling incredibly anxious about different things and not knowing why, that's just going to be tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And there are, you know, there's beautiful support systems out there. And this is coming from someone that has experienced mental health myself. Like, I'm not coming from a textbook with this. This is personal experience. And I've been on medication and I've suffered post-traumatic stress disorder and things like that. So I know how debilitating those experiences can be. And it even makes me, like, I can feel my heart race just remembering. But I also know that there are definitely ways to manage things and to break through different things that anchor us into a place we actually don't really want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
Exactly. So if people who are watching kind of resonate with any of what we've said or need a little bit of a helping hand, feel free to get in contact. Obviously, as Andrea was saying, she has the Courage Couch, which is what days is it on, Andrea?
So it's held monthly. It's usually, I haven't set the date for the next one, but it usually falls on a Sunday night. So I've just had one on Easter Sunday. So May will be in the middle month, but I can pop that up underneath this video once the date is secure. But that's a free, like, that's just a free virtual catch up. It has different topics. So last month was control and what's really happening when we lose control and how to get it back. The next topic, which was based on what my community wanted to hear about and talk about, is failure and the fear of failure. So that will be definitely the topic that we will sort of delve into on the next Courage Couch session. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yep. And I have a Facebook page as well for anyone suffering with anxiety. So I'll again put the details below so you can sign up for free. And if you are looking for specific help with life in general, life coaching or hypnotherapy from myself and Andrea, we'll pop down our email address, contact details, so you can feel free to contact us if you need a chat. I don't know about you, Andrea, but I just chat to people for about half an hour to see whether they are in the right space to create some change through hypnotherapy. I don't take everybody on because some people, for example, smokers, they could have smoked forever and a day, and someone in their family says, I need you to give up smoking, and they don't necessarily want to give up smoking. So I will send them away. I won't waste their money coming to me unless they are truly ready to make the change. So feel free to contact me for a free call. Absolutely no obligation. I would prefer to work with people who are ready to make the changes and, see the absolute amazing changes that can happen. It can absolutely change your life.
Yeah, and I'm exactly the same. So I call mine a clarity call, just to get really clear on what it is that is maybe not working for people and where they want to get to. So it's really just about, obviously this is different because we've had a session, so people are going to feel I resonate with her, I don't resonate with her already, and they're going to have some idea around that. It's really that basis of, do I resonate? Because it has to be a mutual energy exchange, that people they just won't get what they need if they're just coming at it because it'll do, and if I come at it from that point. So this is really about being able to know that we're the right fit, that the people stepping towards are truly ready, because we can want something but not be ready for it. So yeah, I offer the same thing, a half an hour clarity call. We discuss what it is that they want to sort of shift through and create, and then how that's going to look, and price details. I mean, I don't hide my prices or anything like that. I totally understand that that's something that people have to take into consideration, but I'll pop a link for a clarity call. And I have just released a tapping series, 7-day tapping series, and that's $39, but that's just an email series that people can just get a daily tapping session on different topics, whether it's overwhelm, whether it's boundaries, it might be feeling stuck. So it's just a really nice, easy way to have, because we were talking before about the start to my day. So going for a walk, doing some breathing and doing a tapping session, and the way that my day has flowed through has been completely different. So for those people that are like, I don't even know where to start to feel better, it can be just such a simple, easy thing to try that is really super powerful in being able to shift through some of those energy blocks. So I'll put a link for that one as well.
Brilliant. And that's the thing as well, two things actually. Sometimes those simple changes can make the world of difference. Like when we say breathe, you know, everyone breathes, but not relaxation breathing, not really deep breathing, not consciously thinking of the breathing. And a lot of the time people can think, oh yeah, I should breathe, but don't actually practice that breathing. And the difference you can make just literally only by 2 minutes of breathing properly is phenomenal. So if anyone knows they should breathe but doesn't, please try, because if you're struggling with money right now, that makes a massive difference, and it just might calm you down in those times where you really need it.
It was really interesting because I haven't done it before. It's Wim Hof,
yeah,
who, if people don't know who he is, he's just quite incredible with what he can do. But it goes for about 10 minutes, and it has you breathing in and out quite rapidly, but then holding your breath. And I was so surprised, like within the second session, I was holding my breath for 1.5 minutes. I was like, and to some people that might be nothing, but I'm like, I can't believe that I can literally just not breathe for that long.
yeah.
And the feeling, you can feel it. Your fingers tingle, your feet tingle, your temperature drops, and it's literally like I was doing it on my phone. I couldn't even hold my phone. I had to just drop it because everything it just went loose. As funny as that sounds. So yeah, it's really these simple things that we take for granted can make such a world of difference, and it's so important right now because people, as much as we're home, some people are still quite time poor because they're juggling lots of things, and it doesn't really matter how much time we have if in here is on overdrive, because it'll churn through your hours quite quickly
and churn through your energy.
And
the other thing I wanted to say was, when you're thinking about working with someone, please check people out. So if you watch something like this and you like, say, the way Andrea speaks or the way I speak, or you resonate with something we've said, please try and ring that person, speak to them a little bit more, ask them questions, go through what's going on in your life, and really consider for yourself if this is going to work, because there's 1,000,001 coaches, there's 1,000,001 hypnotherapists, and if you resonate with that person, if you can, you know, feel a connection with that person, the work is going to be so much more powerful. So you may be watching this and you may think, oh, but I need someone who's, I don't know, a little bit more formal in the way they speak, or you know, just different to us. And that is what you need to go and look for. We are not here just to, you know, make money from people. We are here to make a difference in your lives. And so we really want clients who we resonate with and can help from the bottom of our hearts, rather than just going, oh yeah, tick, that's another however many dollars in our bank account. It's not about the money. It's truly about helping people to just live an amazing life and be truly happy. And so I would far rather speak to someone and feel that we haven't got the right connection, and hand them over to somebody else so that they can get what they need from that person, than just keep working with them. So please make sure you phone people up, chat to them, get a feel for them, and really work with the right person.
And I think this is primarily the other reason that I was really quite excited about doing sessions like this, is because I really do want to work within communities that have this type of mindset that, you know, I am not here, I'm not everyone's person. There are people that are going to hear me speak, they're going to hear me swear, maybe they're going to hear or see the way that I am, and it's not going to feel right for them because I'm not right for them. Just like there will be certain clients where we will gauge that they're not ready for us, or maybe they're not going to get what they need from the way that we operate.
Yeah.
And I have no qualms whatsoever of passing those people on to other professionals, other coaches, if I feel like hypnotherapy would be the best thing for them, or a specialized, matrix tapping and all those different modalities that really support people, then that's really what I want. Because at the end of the day, the people that are supported by whoever they're supported by in the right way actually helps to collectively heal the world. And I know that sounds a bit like, oh, whatever, but the less people walking around with a truckload of baggage weighing them down, feeling like absolute trash, I mean, that ripples out, that energy ripples out. So if we can actually make some sort of a difference and people get to live lighter and freer and with more self-love and compassion, then that's just going to flow out.
Exactly.
It's just gonna come out everywhere. So
ta-da!
yeah.
Okay, so as we say, we'll put links down below so that you know where to contact us and any freebies we've got to give away. Do feel free to contact us. We'd love to chat to you, and any questions are welcome. Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
See you soon.
Yeah.